And we are back. Welcome back to the SO99 Gaming channel, where today we are reviewing UFL's open beta first weekend. Firstly, I'd just like to apologise for not actually streaming on Sunday. For whatever reason, my streaming software just wasn't connecting to my gaming channel. I ended up going live 3 times on my main channel, and every time I tried to switch over to the gaming channel, it just didn't work. I have now found a fix for it, but unfortunately it meant that we couldn't actually stream UFL last night, but we can still give our thoughts today. And the first thing I have to say is that I really did enjoy playing this game. I think it is a very, very good football game. I think for a first beta, and if you obviously look in the bottom corner of the screen, it says that was the first beta weekend that is over, so hopefully that means we're going to get more betas. And I have to say, for a first beta, I was actually quite impressed with it. I think this isn't going to sound like a great review, but it felt like a slightly worse version of old FIFAs. And I mean that as an absolute positive. In my head, the old FIFAs were the better FIFAs. I think what we got from FIFA 21 through to EAFC 24, I think we've seen a massive decline in the product that EA have been producing, whereas this felt a lot more stripped back, a lot more of what we used to have when the game used to be a lot more fun on FIFA. So massive props for that. There were definitely problems with it when we were playing it yesterday, which of course there are. It's a first beta for a brand new game that's had massive investment into it. There are going to be bugs. That's why you do betas. But on the whole, I was really, really impressed. It's obviously running through Unreal Engine, which is what Fortnite uses. I thought the graphics were absolutely fantastic. Some of the gameplay I thought was really, really good. And I think that's probably the best place to start. We'll sort of split this video up into 2. We'll talk about the gameplay, then we'll talk about the squad building, because those are the 2 real main things that have to be talked about. So, firstly, in regards to the gameplay, I think the first massive positive for the gameplay aspect of things is that you were punished for sprinting in unnecessary situations. Now, I feel like, again, throughout all of FIFA, be that the old ones or the new ones in the AFC, it's too easy just to hold sprint and do whatever you want. I really think it plays into the whole all you need is pace in EAFC and EA football games, and you can just spam pace and you win matches. That's not the case on UFL. You are so heavily punished for sprinting as you would be in real life football. You don't see players running around at top speed for the entire game. Football is a game about patience, about build-up play, about key passes and key movements. You can't just pick the ball up in centre midfield and run at top speed down the middle of the pitch while your opponent's midfielder runs at top speed alongside them trying to tackle them. It doesn't work like that, and that's not how it works in the AFC. You are rewarded for actually turning and playing passes correctly. And like I say, people are going to moan about, oh, there's so many heavy touches in this game. That's by design. I'm convinced that's by design. You look at this chance here that I had with Ronaldo, where I've tried to get past the player, then sprint in behind. But because there's someone on the cover, when I make that sprint touch in behind, he gets tackled, as he would do in real life. I think that's a really good thing that they've added. It means that you don't have to rely on pacey players. All players become playable when pace and over sprinting isn't an issue. So that was a massive, massive positive from me in regards to the gameplay. My first big negative of the gameplay is that second man press and goalkeeper movement are still in the game. I'm shocked that they have carried that over from the EA product, because, look, we'll get onto it a little bit more in a bit, but this is very much, I don't want to say a rip-off of EA's mechanics, but the controls are near identical. Some of the skill moves are completely identical. And look, that's why I said it feels like just a sort of slightly worse version of old FIFA games, because essentially the gameplay setup is near identical to an EA product. So it'd be interesting to know who's actually behind the making of this, if it is just old EA employees taking their codes into this game, because in that sort of aspect it felt similar. But I was really disappointed to see second man press and goalkeeper movement included in this game, since they're 2 of the biggest complaints that people have about EAFC and the last few FIFAs. So slightly disappointed to see that in the game. It didn't really have a major impact on the experience, but obviously, like I say, this is the first weekend. People were still trying to figure out what's good and what's bad, and ultimately, inevitably, people are going to over-rely on AI and extra bits of mechanic spamming like goalkeeper movement if they stay in the game. So that was my first real disappointment. Second disappointment was the set-piece mechanics. Again, using old EA set-piece mechanics, whereby you have to hold the circle in a certain spot, otherwise it moves away. I don't like that. Like, you should just be able to line up a free kick or line up a corner and put it where you want to put it. Don't, like, force us to hold it in a certain position, because it just, again, it allows for too much error to go wrong. Because if you let it go at the right time or you let it go at the wrong time, it then affects how you take it. But that's just a minor nitpick. Second positive is the passing. I thought the passing was fantastic. The way you could manipulate the ball around the pitch. Now, as you know, I always play a 4-3-3 possession style of play, and I thought that this gameplay really suited that. I think you can really manipulate the ball well, like we already spoke about. Because you're not going to be sprinting around the pitch as much, you have to rely on your players' actual ability on the ball to generate chances, which is more realistic than what we see from EA products. And I really did enjoy how you could pass and move the ball around the pitch. My only disappointment in that regard is that some of the attacking AI movement, they were too often running in behind. Now, that may have been just due to my overall tactics setup, which obviously if I had more time on this game, I would adjust until I got it right. But I felt too many times my front three were running offside, just unnecessarily. Like, the instructions said that they wouldn't do that. I was set up to play a bit more possession, but players were still running in behind and getting themselves offside. So that was my only disappointment when it came to the passing. But all round, I thought the passing was really good. My second major disappointment from the gameplay was the shooting. I thought the shooting needed to be a little bit better. Like, there were a lot of people I played against that weren't using goalkeeper movement, but even Cristiano Ronaldo, who has perfect feet on this game, both his right foot and left foot are considered 5 out of 5, so he shouldn't have any shot error. And he was still scuffing shots and hitting shots straight at the goalkeeper, where I was aiming it in the corners and he just wasn't catching the ball right. So I understand it from, like, 65 rated players that I had in my team when I started, but I would not expect that from Ronaldo. So I think the shooting mechanics just needed to be a little bit better. But again, it's a beta. I'm not going to complain too much in that regard. Finally, I think possibly my biggest issue when it came to it, and again in terms of familiarities with EA products, is kickoff goals were definitely still a thing. I felt like the defensive error was massively increased directly after kickoff. And I've got two examples running behind me at the moment where my players have just fallen asleep or have given away a bounce back at kickoff, or just let the ball go in behind them at kickoff, which didn't happen at any real other point in the game other than the last minute of each half, the 45th minute and the 90th minute. Like, the first clip here with this guy with Griezmann, he didn't have a single chance all game. But the moment that clock ticked over into the 90th minute, my defence fell asleep and he scored. And then the second clip is just even worse, because it says 3 minutes of added time. I've got the ball in my opponent's half in the 48th minute, lose the ball, the halftime whistle should then go, but instead my opponent then has the opportunity to run down the other end of the pitch and score a goal in the 51st minute of the first half, 3 minutes over the originally allotted 3 minutes of added time. So those are two things that I was, again, a little bit disappointed with in regards to gameplay. But overall, I think for a first beta, in terms of gameplay overall, really, really happy with it. Not too many bugs, but a couple of little bugs. And like I say, a couple of things brought over from the EA products, which I'm not a fan of seeing. But overall, as a first beta in terms of gameplay, very good start for UFL. Then when we get to the actual squad building aspects of things, I was a lot more impressed. Really, really impressed with how they have the whole squad building setup designed. Firstly, when it comes to the actual market, yes, there is a pay to win aspect of it. However, it's only up to a certain point. Once you hit 80 rated, you have to rely on your ranking points to buy the extra players. They still cost the same in terms of CP. The CP increases for every single player as you go up and up and up and up in the ratings. But as soon as you hit 80 rated and above, you then have to use ranking points as well to get the players into your squad. And that means you can't rely on just spending hundreds and hundreds of pounds on the game to just buy the best players in the game. You can get the CP to buy those players, but you can't get the RP to buy those players. You have to actually play the game to get the best players in the game. That is exactly the right model for a football game. That's how it should be. If you want total engagement, if you want people to be playing matches, which is what I believe a football game should be about, playing matches, the best way to get the best team is to play matches, to get the ranking points, to then buy the better players. Massive, massive props for them for that. Really like that. Hope that's something they bring over into the main game. Then you have things like skins, which you can use to boost your players' XP. I really like that players can actually level themselves up. Once you level them up, you can then give them attributes like extra skill moves, extra pace, extra physicality, etc, etc, etc. And I really like that when you get a player, they have one set position until you unlock more positions for those players. So you can move them around to other positions that they can use. You actually have to use one of your 5 stars for each player to move them into another position to make them as usable as possible. So really, really happy about that side of things. I think the actual model in terms of all players are regarded as the same. There's no bronze, silver, gold. It's just this is their rating. This is their stats. I really like that you can see the strong foot, weak foot in terms of this is just they're that good on one side as they are on the other. You got the stats all round, which I think were really handy. And then, yeah, I really like the whole thing, how you can level up a player and make the player better by using that player. I think that is so, so critical into how this game can develop. And again, I hope that's what they stick with. So really, really impressed with the whole squad building aspect of it. And yeah, like I said, the whole aspect of actually having to play to then pay for your players rather than just going out on microtransactions and buying the players outright. There is a progression aspect to this game. You can slowly build up your squad. You can buy free agents if you want to buy free agents. If you want to increase the size of your squad, you can use your LP to do that and get more players into your squad to then generate a little bit more rotation. All those things I think are massive positives. So in conclusion, UFL first weekend beta, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 in regards to the actual product itself. I think as a football game right now, it's probably at about 5.5, 6 out of 10. But for a first beta, as what could be genuine competition for an EAFC game, I'm definitely rating it 8 out of 10. I look forward to what will hopefully be a second weekend's beta in the near future. And of course, the full game once it's released, since it is a free-to-play game, as I think most games should be nowadays. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. I am very impressed with what I've seen so far. Hopefully we're going to see more in the coming weeks and months. I'll see you again very, very soon.